Arsenal have released their financials for the year 2024 to 25, and they've announced record revenues of nearly £700 million, which means we almost broke even, so a very small loss, 1.4 million, making it the best year for the club financially since the Cronkies took overall control in 2018. You'll never sing that, etc., etc. And there's been a lot of discussion about this, particularly around a couple of things that we're going to dive into. First and foremost, all those retail numbers look good, don't they? 50 ranges over the course of 2 seasons.
That's incredible.
They're putting in work.
So apparently, according to Deloitte, Arsenal have experienced a 104% rise in commercial revenue since 2021, which is the greatest growth of any of the 10 highest revenue generating clubs in world football.
Oh, wow.
And obviously a lot of that comes from this strategy, which is clearly working really well. I think partially because they put so much effort into it. You know, they're not just like,
let's
put a badge in a slightly different place, or let's do a different colour hoodie that's ultimately the same. They really, really put a lot of kind of love and passion and attention into it, and that's why everyone is lapping up, wearing the stuff. Like, I think kind of football kit culture has had a moment in like the past. Well, it's been going on for a while now, but you do see younger people wearing sort of retro kits out and about all the time. Not necessarily even just at football. I was at Primavera Sound a couple of years ago. Yeah. There were so many retro kits just knocking about. Yeah. People like much, much younger than me, wondering why I was there, ruining their time as a sort of horrific spectre of, just demonstrating the ravages of time. But yeah, like Arsenal have cashed in on that really, really well. And it feels authentic, and it obviously is authentic. And that growth is unreal.
It is. I think we spotted a gap in the market about 4 or 5 years ago where we are unofficially the culture club of London. Like, there's no doubt about it. Chelsea run us close, but in terms of...
I don't think it's that close, Jonny. I really don't. Yeah, you're being way too nice.
I put Palace before Chelsea.
Yeah, I agree.
In terms of when... You know where I noticed it? We had remember the Jamaican kit, the yellow...
Yeah.
I went to Carnival that year and literally everyone was wearing it. And it was like, it's now become a badge of honour. It's the cool thing. Like, and they've been very smart with this. Like, I hope Ian Wright's getting his cut, because Ian Wright has played a massive role in this. But even recently, I see the Max Dowman advert was so ahead of the curve in terms of how to sort of market the club or leverage what the club's history and black culture, London culture with Arsenal. That it's important. Like, it's become a massive part of our club. I think there's a limit to it. I think, eventually people are going to start saying, after another loss, we bring out another range of clothes. But the product is very, very good. And we were ahead of the curve. And everyone now is playing catch up. And the numbers prove it.
Adidas have me buying a bucket hat. I own the bucket hat. Now, this may be a shock to the listeners, but I'm not a big festival guy. I don't know if that is
a shock to me, Laura.
I'm quite high maintenance.
That altitude festival, the skiing.
Yeah, I'm not really a festival guy, but I was walking around with an Adidas bucket head on my hat last summer. And this is what they've got us doing. They are genuinely ahead of the curve. But I think, Jonny, I have to agree. At some point, you go, enough is enough. There are other impacts to this. There's an environmental impact. We keep producing all these clothes. Like, fans feel like they have to buy them, things like that. So it's not just, oh, well done us, we kind of put out all these clothes. But
I think the crescendo will be the parade. When we win the league, I think, I'm sorry for saying it, but I feel that will be the moment where it all comes to fruition, and that's where we're going to make more money than ever. And everyone's going to want to have it. So we're going to carry that on into next season, but there is probably a limit to it. And we've enjoyed that, but maybe we need to start dialing it back in a little bit.
They'll do a Where's Wally range for the photos.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this was obviously a kind of positive telling of Arsenal's progress over the past couple of years from a commercial sense. And there's lots of people at the club who the club have bought in. I think Juliette Slot being the main one. She was the former commercial exec at Ascot. I actually used to work for her.
Oh, wow.
She was, when I worked in consulting, Ascot were a client. Now, she was a formidable woman, and I can't think of anyone better in this role at Arsenal. However, we also do need to talk about the fact that the club announced that the season ticket prices would rise for a 5th season in a row. So the kind of contrast of, we're doing really well financially, but by the way, another ticket price rise, etc. Not a good look, I think, given the good vibes around the club. Now we're going to squeeze you for some more money. And quite rightly, the Arsenal Supporters Trust have criticised the club for continuing what they call the arms race of price increases, which I think is a really powerful phrase because it essentially evokes a sense that these clubs can work as a collective to not do this. But they're not doing that. And they're choosing not to do that, Jim.
Yeah, the Football Supporters Association suggested a freeze from all clubs, which would, of course, stop that arms race because everyone's got the same, so no one has an advantage or a disadvantage. And that was, of course, disregarded. I suppose corralling, 20 club owners is very, very difficult like that. As you mentioned, it's 5 years in a row now. Arsenal are citing operational costs going up, which is quite a vague term, isn't it?
That frustrates me, I have to say, as a fan, because it's not easy to rebut that and go, what do you mean? What's an operational? Because I think operational costs, when you look at what goes into them, it's everything. It's basically like the cost of running it, which, is kind of frustrating as a fan because you go, I would understand a price rise if you could tell me exactly where it's going into.
It's a clever way of saying cost of living crisis, which is a liberty, really.
Same for all of us, isn't it? My operational costs have gone up as well. But I mean, in the articles about it, it says that's gone up by over 50 million in a single year. So that is a lot. But at the same time, Arsenal make £5.3 million per home game. It's so much money. And in terms of the revenues that football clubs generate these days, most of it comes from TV money from territories all over the world. The actual match-going, season ticket buying fans are one of the smaller revenue streams, and it is a shame that once again those prices are going to go up because people will be priced out. People will replace those people, and it will appear like everything's rosy business as usual, but that's absolutely devastating for people that miss out.
That is a fantastic point in terms of the proportion of our revenue being the Matchday revenue, because for you to get the big chunks of revenue, which is the TV revenue, you need to have this atmosphere in the stadiums. That is a massive part of the Premier League product. And if the real fans can't afford to, if you're scratching around and you can't afford to get to games or whatever, or you can't afford your season tickets and they're going out the door, you're losing the essence of what the club really is, and that's what you're selling to the massive TV broadcasters. So eventually that will catch up with you, because everyone, you go and talk to any sort of fan, you go to Anfield, you go to Stamford Bridge, it's not the same as it was 10 years ago. And that's because really, we all know this, the corporate tickets and everything else, and the people that have season tickets, they barely go, or they're very wealthy and then they're not here, they're away for business, so they're selling their ticket to some. You go to games, it's not the same. And I'm not, casting aspersions about the people that are going matches now, but there is a different feel to go into games, and that is going to get worse. And I feel like we need local fans, people that live round, kids to grow up and want to go to matches. We need to keep that sort of that environment, because at the moment we might be losing it.
Well, it needs to be accessible to those people, doesn't it?
Exactly
it needs to be guaranteed that that's the case. And I suppose one of the things that the numbers don't factor in here as well, I think it's just worth pointing out, is obviously this doesn't include the gigantic transfer splurge we went on in the last window, which will be reflected in the next set of accounts. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Who knows what the threshold is of some people being cut out of it and some people managing to remain. I think it's something they need to keep on top of and need to be wary of.
Specifically have what I would describe as the kind of the highest floor, but not a particularly high ceiling. So we have the highest, least expensive season ticket. So of all the tickets, ours ranked against the other clubs, our least expensive season ticket is over £1,000. Our most expensive season ticket is kind of on balance with the rest of them, but it's right up there, which means that on average you're paying 50 quid a game for the least expensive season ticket and 91 for the most expensive one. Now, to look at that like very objectively in terms of what you get back as a fan, I have to be honest, I don't see a massive problem with charging £50 to £60 a game. Where I really, really have such an issue, and this has been called out by quite a few people, it's definitely been called out by the Arsenal Supporters Trust, is then when we get to things like Champions League games, categorisation of other clubs, and that's when I just think, you're taking the piss. With category A and category B. And that's where I think you as a fan who has already paid £1,000 to then be, and it's part and parcel of, well, it's good that we're in these rounds, but I need to now fork out 80 quid a game for us to progress because I want to see. And that's where I think the demand is so inelastic. You can just keep pushing that. Where does it stop?
You're also not even guaranteed your seat in those situations, right? So
those ones, again, this is another way that Arsenal have changed it slightly so that you can buy a 19-game season ticket for those ones, you are guaranteed your seat.
Right.
But at the same time, it's an additional cost.
Sure.
And I think the mentality, even if it's built in at the beginning of the season, that I now need to go and get my credit card and pay for another thing for Arsenal, feels really galling.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you spend as much as we were talking about on merch and everything else. But also, you should be excited to be getting to the latter rounds of the competition. And you've been part of the journey. So you should, you've helped the team get this far. And then all of a sudden you get in, it's that sort of a conditional sort of membership that you've got to watch your team. But you've been part of the journey. You should be allowed to see it to the end. And like there people, I know a lot of fans that go, it is getting harder and harder, and it really is. And I feel like it's important to keep the essence of Arsenal Football Club.
And I think as well, the Matchday revenue is such a small part of our global business, and we have fans all over the world. And you might think that they're not necessarily affected by this, but they absolutely are. Because number one, if you come to the UK in the hope of watching the club that you've spent years getting up at 5 a.m. to watch, getting a ticket, very difficult. You've already had to pay for flights. So the idea that you then, as an international fan, have to find someone, and Arsenal have introduced for next year a category A+ ticket for these games, which is in the region of 90 to up to £170. And that's when I'm like, wow, this, that is really pushing it. So it's not just us as the kind of Matchday attending fans. It really does have an impact and a knock-on effect about all over the world for our fans who, might not get to go to the stadium all the time, but still are stung by this kind of price increase.
That is straight up greed, and it's viewing fans not as people but as wallets to be emptied, essentially, isn't it? And I think that's a shame. And I do think it's important that, as you say, international fans are, there is a place for them at the stadium, because Arsenal is such a global club, and if you want the benefits of that, you have to open it up to people who want to come and see it. I also think there's a point where we're in a nice position at the moment. We're in a privileged position. Everything's going well. The stadium might be anxious sometimes, but it's broadly positive. When things aren't like that, and there will be a point in the future where that is inevitably the case, people get angry when they pay an absolute fortune and the team are performing badly. That becomes something in your mind, and it becomes the reason people go, oh, and then the atmosphere never recovers. I remember once, a long time ago now, I was really, really skint, and I'd managed to scrape together 50 quid to go and see Arsenal, and we drew 0-0 with Fulham. Andre Arshavin ran probably less than I did in the course of the day. A lot of the time I was like, I can't really afford for this to be this bad. And it does become a factor, right? And you make a rod for your own back, because you kind of set your own fan base up in a situation where they can become angry with you faster.
Well, we could be more demanding. We can be more entitled. If we're paying this sort of money, then we expect better transfer windows, we expect better performances, and we expect trophies. So it's like, okay, we've done our part. If you want us to pay more money, fair enough, then give us a quadruple.
Yeah, and I completely agree, Jonny, about the fact that we are demanding higher quality players and things. It's I think the bit that really doesn't sit right is passing that brunt on to the fans who are already paying lots of money to go and watch. Surely there are other things like the merch, for example, that we were talking about. I know it's a small aspect of it, it's not huge, but that feels like that's where this should come from.
The partnerships and the
squeeze Adidas for more
Adidas,
more merch.
sober reality, and all of the endorsements that we've done. There's commercial. There's big bits of commercial, especially when we start winning. There's some big commercial deals to do, and that's squeeze them. Us.
More international partners as well. Huge global fan base. A huge amount of our revenue comes from sponsorship and deals that we in the UK don't necessarily see. But it just feels like, of all the kind of levers that the club could pull, trying to bump up the Matchday revenue when it's already a small part of it doesn't feel right.
If there is some chat around this new stadium, is there something about the redevelopment that is part of this? When you announce these things and it's 5 years on a spin, what else are we getting for that? Because we do need some answers now at this point. When you stretch it this much, is there something coming? Is there a reason why? I mean, I know that we owe the Kroenkes the best part of $250 million. We are our owners that, and they've injected where we've needed it. But where else? What else are we getting for this? Because this is the thing. I think we're allowed to ask. I think as fans, as match-going fans.
Yeah, you're right. If they've spoken openly about stadium redevelopment, right, and that will not be cheap. Moving to Wembley for a season will probably have a cost as well. I just would love a raffle at half time. Just one seat every game. They give you 10 grand or something. Imagine that.
That'd be nice.
Absolutely buzzing. They can afford it, can't they?
is this a fever dream, pun intended, but was there not a storyline arc in Dream Team where they raffled off the entire club by putting it under one seat? Did I just make that up? I'm absolutely sure that happened.
It's hard to say with Dream Team.
It got silly. Was Monday Bandili involved in it potentially?
I don't know. I do like that idea. I mean, what would the prizes be, Jim? Money.
Money.
We will pay your mortgage for a month.
In cash, shot out of a cannon by Gunnosaurus.
Yes.
That sounds like yank. That sounds yank.
It does.
With no disrespect to our Americans. I'm sorry. There's no disrespect to our American listeners.
Well, Gunnosaurus gives you a big check.
Yes,
we don't see enough big checks in modern public life.
Big checks, big bows, big scissors.
Yes.
That's what I want back.
Great.
I want people announcing things, big scissors cutting a bow, Gunnosaurus ideally.
We'll take that. We'll take that as something.
Right. Well, and if anyone from Arsenal is listening, ticket price is fine. We want Gunnosaurus firing cash into the Emirates.
Please.
At the next game.